So in a few years, Spotify could potentially not need music producers anymore. You and me will be redundant. Keep watching this video if you want to know why we think that is. I have to be 100% clear though. What I'm going to say in this video today is just a hypothetical scenario and not something Spotify has come up with or said publicly in any way. This is also originally based on a tweet from a Norwegian guy called Torstein, so all credit goes to him. The link is below for laying out this hypothetical scenario. I asked him if I could talk about this on this channel, and he said that was all right. The reason I don't think this is a hype or a fad or something that is going to blow over is that what we can see in other areas of AI. I mean, have you seen the images AI can produce? Apply the same outcome to music. We will get there at some point. I don't know the technicalities behind this. I don't really know how this works, but it may be harder, perhaps, for these models to predict the human condition in music production. But at some point it will come to the point where it will be more or less indistinguishable from a human. If you have seen the podcast, the AI podcast, I think it was with Joe Rogan, and was it this Sam guy who is a AI author, I think, or developer. It was an AI podcast, so in about 10 minutes in the podcast you could clearly see that this was not really human. But if we are at this point now, just imagine where we are in, let's say, 5 years. So AI music is a gift to Spotify economically. It has the potential to free Spotify from music producers, so that's you and me, who today takes 70% of Spotify's income from streams. So this means that the potential revenue for Spotify can be astronomical, since AI music doesn't really have a production cost. You don't have a human being behind it that needs to be paid. It's just software. It's ones and zeros. Unless we have some kind of legislation word that says that if your music was a part of a data set or training a data set, then you are owed a percentage of those earnings that come out from that data set. So that can perhaps be a positive way of thinking around this if we get to that point. So Spotify is the largest audio platform in the world. They have the biggest data set in terms of what type of music their listeners like and the listening patterns of the listeners. And they have already reached this position because they use machine learning and they use AI to personalize every user's listening experience in terms of playlists, suggestion of songs, and similar things like that. You have probably seen that yourself in Spotify. And their algorithms, they analyze patterns in music files that fundamentally consists of just ones and zeros put together in a sequence. They study and they learn from what you listen to, and they try to find similar sequences of ones and zeros that match up with the tracks you have listened to and shown interest for. And when they have a user base with almost 500 million users, it's obvious that Spotify owns an enormous amount of data that can be used to get this first mover advantage in this segment. So the question here is Spotify, do they have the will to make this move in terms of, let's say, rights and legalities? Or if they are willing to disrupt their existing business model like they did with the traditional model that was dominated by physical CDs and buying of individual songs or albums of, for example, iTunes. And so far it seems like Spotify is absolutely not against AI in any kind of form. Last summer they bought a technology company called Sonantic, and they specialize in creating human-like speech using AI. And in addition, Spotify have also integrated ChatGPT in their new AI DJ solution. Perhaps in the future they will use this text-generating technology in combination with speech-generating technology to produce their own songs. So, Instead of finding songs they believe you might like, they will on the fly generate songs they know you will like. This may seem a little bit woo, but I think that the technology will get there at some point, considering what we see today. Adding to this, Spotify is also betting heavily on audiobooks and podcasts and things that points in the direction where Spotify is positioning themselves for a future without the need for music producers. So this is, as I said in the beginning of this video, this is a hypothetical scenario, but I don't think it's difficult to reach this conclusion by just adding up what is happening around us and how consumers are reacting to what is happening. As I said in my earlier video where I talked about this, me and you who produce music, we can agree that we don't perhaps like this development, but it's not really up to us unless we can find a way to stop this development. But in my opinion, this is already too late. The train has left the station. Some 15, 16-year-old, they are not going to care if the music they're listening to are coming from. They won't care. At least most of them are my prediction. If they like the music, they like the music. Who made it? I don't think they will care a lot about that. What we then need is perhaps some kind of legislation that can compensate the original creator of the content that was used for training the dataset in the first place. But who can make sure that this is taken care of? Just the other day here, I just got $160 from Pond5. Pond5 is a stock library where you can upload music and video and images and things like that. So people can buy them and download them and use them. And they sold my entire library, allegedly, I think, to someone that is going to use it for training some AI dataset. So am I going to get something from that dataset they are using my music to train? Who knows? I don't know. I haven't really read the agreement. I know these videos can seem kind of negative. It's not really my intent. But I just want to try to illustrate what I see happening around us, and a lot of other people are seeing this as well. I mean, a hypothetical scenario like Torsten said in his original tweet. I think it's really important for us and not just sit in our studio or in our basement and just... I think it's important to be ahead of the curve and try to predict what is going to happen. I mean, the best outcome is that I like these hysterical scenarios that I am wrong, that this will be something that is going to give us tools, that is going to help us in our craft, perhaps do the music production process a little faster or something along those lines. I want to think positive, but I also want to be realistic. And as you probably know, corporations, their first priority are shareholders and earnings. They set the earnings, that's number one on the priority list. Number two is the product and everything, quality and everything. I think it's the same with Spotify. Earnings are the most important, and then everything else. Let me know what you think. Keep it civil in the comments below. Thank you.